What's up, guys? How's it going? Alrighty. So, y'all know what we're here for. We're here to test out the new complete iFlash2PS2 kit. That's going to consist of a new flex cable, which is updated from the old flex cable, which I have one of here. Changed some of the dimensions, changed the design of some pads that were a little bit fragile on the original design, and overall just made this better. So this is hopefully gonna be the release candidate for actually selling these flex cables. We've got an updated power board here, which changes the positioning of the SD card just slightly to make it fit with the, hopefully fit with the vent holes a little bit better. And then we have a new contender here, the SD extension flex, which is going to help you to extend the SD card slot from the iFlash board down to the power board without having to run wires manually. Oh, and 3D printed frame, which basically slots into the bottom of the console and replaces the original shielding that goes down there, because you can't put the shielding in with the iFlash. So here's this right here is the punished PS2 Slim. I put it back together and made it look all nice. It's just for show. This is the same PS2 we've been working on this whole time. But we're gonna go ahead and disassemble this PS2. I'm missing the feet, so I have no feet on this PS2. But we're gonna go ahead and disassemble this PS2. I've already removed all the original mods from this PS2 that were in there from the previous stream. So this is like a stock PS2. This will basically be a stock experience if you were installing this fresh. What's up, Obi-Wan? Nice to see you again. So we're just gonna pop the 6 screws out of the bottom of the shell here. Did you go cool? Don't make it weird. Don't make it weird. You don't have to make it weird. Did you Goku? Yes. This is only for Slims. This design is specifically for V12 motherboards. So that's going to be SCPH 70,000. What is it? 70,012 is one of them. I think that's the most common one. But there may be some others. I think there's like 70,003. And maybe like a 70,006 that would be compatible with it as well. But the 70,012 is basically what I've based the design off of. But it should work on a few other models of 70,000 Slim. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and just pop the cover off here. All right. Does this act as a fat PS2 HDD? For the most part. The only thing that this is not going to be able to do that a fat PS2 hard drive could do is it doesn't support free HD boot, because the PS2 Slim doesn't have some of the driver components that's required for booting code off of the hard drive. But everything else, like loading games from OPL, accessing the hard drive with U-Launch, that sort of stuff, it all works exactly like a fat PS2. Modsville, what's up? Good to see you here. Alright, so on the stock PS2 Slim, you have this backplate here, and this backplate has to go because the iFlash is just too thick to fit underneath this backplate. So we're going to go ahead and remove the back plate. To do so, we'll go ahead and pop the 4 screws out of the optical drive. And then there's one little screw hiding underneath the optical drive sled here. So we need a finer Phillips screwdriver here for that. All right, and then we'll go ahead and unhook the battery and unhook the fan power connector as well. Now I'm going to very carefully, while holding the optical drive sled so it doesn't slide around and tear into the flex cables, on the bottom of the board, you have to remove a few screws that hold the heatsink down. So we'll go ahead and get that done. Come on. All right. Oh. So when you do this mod, like I said, you're going to discard the bottom shield because we won't be using it anymore. And now with those screws removed, the top shield should just lift off. Now you do have to undo the drive ribbon cables. So you've got 3 different cables here that you'll need to remove. But you don't want to take the sled off of the shield because it is actually held down with adhesive. And you don't want to disturb that adhesive. So just put the top shield somewhere safe with that optical drive still in place. Alrighty. So now that we got everything torn down, we're going to go ahead and start installing the main iFlash flex cable. So the first area we're going to work in is up here. This flex cable sits right here, like so, and solders to these resistor arrays, and then to a few of these little pads down here. So we'll go ahead and get you guys zoomed in a little bit more. There we go. Now I'm going to use a micro chisel tip for this. Where do you buy a ribbon cable for this mod? Well, it's not available yet, but it will be as soon as we're done with testing. Modsville actually reached out and volunteered to help me test it as well, so he's going to test it out. I've got a couple other people who have reached out and wanted to test it as well. So we're going to do a little beta testing just to install it on a few different motherboard revisions and make sure we don't run into any compatibility problems that I haven't seen here. And then once I'm confident with that, then I will be releasing it on my website. And you can find my website linked in the description of this video. We're going to go ahead and install this flex cable. So we're working on the top side first. We just want to lay the flex cable over the top of these components like so. And then we're just going to come in with a little bit of flux. And we're going to take our tip. We're going to add a little bit of solder to our tip. And then we'll just go ahead and start tacking these resistor arrays in place. Oh, I think my flux already dried up. Let's try to move around here a little bit so I can get a better angle on this. Okay, I should be able to work with that. All right, let's see here. Goodness. It's always tough to do this on camera because I am not in an ideal position for seeing what I'm doing. Okay, that's the first array done. Go ahead and get the second one. Flux is your friend in this situation. All right. We're breaking out the big guns here. Knife tip. That clears bridges real easy. All right, and then these 4 little points here on the board need to be soldered as well. And then our last resistor array right here. All right. That looks good, bridge free. So now we flip the PS2 over. And basically the flex cable folds over. And then this portion right here solders down. Let's see. Get this lined up right. So that aligns right there with those resistor arrays. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and tack one of these pads down just so that this will stay folded over like it's supposed to. And then we'll clean it up afterwards. So we're going to take an excessive amount of solder here. And that tacks one pad in place. And then we'll fine tune that here in a minute. So we want to get the alignment pretty good. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to tack these little ground pores here in place so that it holds, kind of acts as a strain relief for the flex cable, holds everything in place. And that'll make it easier to work with. Okay. Now we just gotta hit all of these little points here. All right, so we'll go ahead and flux the area up a little bit. We'll tack these two pads here. This pad here. This pad here. Here. Okay, and then we've got these three little resistors we have to get soldered in as well. Let's see, I'm going to reposition just a little bit here. Flip this around. Should be a little bit easier for me to get to them. Let's see. Okay, that's one of them. That's the second one. And that's the last one. Okay, let's look at that a little closer. So you can see all three of those resistors are tacked in place, and then each of the individual pads are soldered down, and then also the resistor array is soldered in. So that should pretty much be all the soldering for the main flex. And that's what it looks like. All right, so then the next part is going to be the power board. The power board actually sits right down here. Now this is something that's specific to the V12 motherboard, and Modsville and I were actually talking about this the other day, and I don't have a V13 motherboard here in my possession. Apparently, this little area right here that's blank on the V12 has components for the laser fix that was added on the V13 motherboard. And unfortunately, I didn't know that at the time. So this power board is really designed to sit in this area, and it's designed to not have any components underneath it. So if you're going to install this on a V13, it may be a little bit tricky to get it to sit exactly the way it's supposed to. You might have to set it on top of the components and maybe use some double-sided tape, and that may interfere with being able to insert and remove the SD card through the grill, through the front vent of the PS2. Now, I am looking into a possible alternative power board design that would work with a V13 without any of these issues. So it's on the docket as something to look into, but no news yet. So this power board sits right down here next to the USB port. It actually aligns right here with the USB port, so that so the alignment of the SD card slot is easy to get. You don't have to like manually fine tune this. It just locks in place where it's supposed to be. Okay. So Yeah, Modsville, that's what I was trying to accomplish, getting the connection to those resistors easier, because I noticed, like you and I were talking about this with a lot of the other flex cable designs only have copper on the top side. They don't have through-hole pads or cancellations or anything. And that does seem like it would be really tricky to get a good connection because you're basically just creating a bridge. So I think this works pretty well. So far, I'm pretty pleased with it. So basically, you're just going to line this power board up, and you're going to tack it to the ground around the edge of the motherboard. And then you can also get a ground connection here on the USB port ground, one of these shield legs here. And then for power, this actually taps into the 8.5 volt power. It goes to this little fuse right here. So you basically just run some solder down in there, and that'll lock it in and get power to it. Okay, now the next part of the power board is the SD extender flex. We're gonna go ahead and just tin these pads up, get it ready to receive the extender flex. And I will zoom y'all in. So the SD extender flex will just line up right here. And basically you're just gonna solder each pad retry that. Let's see, I didn't have it lined up exactly right. That looks pretty good. Come on. There's one pad here that's not looking very good. Okay. Alrighty. So this is what the two flex cables look like installed. Now, on the previous version of the iFlash2PS2 board, I didn't have the extender flex cable, and the way the extender flex cable was wired up, you didn't have a power connection between the iFlash and the power supply board unless you solder a wire to the 3.3 volt pad here and then solder a wire to the 3.3 volt pad on the main iFlash flex. The new design actually routes power through the extender cable, so you no longer have to solder a wire between the 3.3 volt pads. I left them there in case there's a scenario where you're not using the SD card extender flex, like let's say if you want to do one of the iFlash dual card readers or a quad card reader or something like that, where you're kind of doing something different than what the design was specifically made for. That's up to you, but basically that's what this is intended for, is On a normal installation, you won't need to use the wire between the 3.3 volt pads. It'll all be carried through by the flex cable. Now, the next part would be removing the SD card slot from the iFlash board. We would do that, except for that I've already removed it from this board, so we're not going to do that again because there is no SD card slot here. But on a normal iFlash board, this is what it would have on it. It would have a full-size SD card slot, and basically the way that you remove these is you take each one of these joints here on the corners, you individually heat them up and pry them up while you're heating them, and that will peel. If you do each of these 4 corners, that will allow you to pop the top shield of this SD card slot off, and I demonstrated this in the last stream. And then the individual pins inside of the SD card slot, you can actually heat them up individually and pull them out of the connector with tweezers. And if you do that all the way across, then you can just pop the rest of the SD card reader off, and you'll end up with a blank, board like this. All right, so what we're gonna do before we solder in the iFlash, we'll go ahead and install the 3D printed frame. Now this frame was designed to completely replace the old bottom shield. So on one side you have threaded inserts that align with the screw holes for the heatsink. These align with the screw holes for the drive sled. And this here just lines up the screws for the heatsink. So the way that this installs is this piece goes here, like so, and then this piece goes here. Now the iFlash Flex, on the backside, the Flex sits underneath this this 3D print. It's actually got a slot for the Flex to pass through, if you can see that. And then the SD card Flex actually goes over top the Flex as well, or the frame. So let's go ahead and grab the top shield. We're gonna go ahead and reattach the top shield using our 3D printed brackets. And the way that works is quite simply, we're going to attach the side with the threaded inserts first. So we hold it in place, flip it over, and then we take our top shield and put it back in place. Oh. It would help to have extra hands if you've got some of those. Try to get the power board out of the way there. Okay, so now we have our top shield aligned the way it's supposed to be. Let's see if our no, our 3D printed bracket is not where it's supposed to be. Hold on, let me flip it over real quick. Okay, that's where it should be. So now, if we pull the drive out of the way, there we go. Oh, lost it. It's a bit fiddly. There we go. Okay, so I got the first screw in, so now the frame is more or less in place where it's supposed to be. Okay, so now we're gonna put in the 4 drive screws. Eric, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you on that, to be honest with you. If the reset works on the N64 mod, then 15-bit color and de-blur should work. Oh, if you're using a standard AV cable, you won't be able to see that. The de-blur and the 15-bit color are only for the RGB signals. You have to have an RGB cable to even see them. Okay, so now that that's done, everything should be aligned. So if we take the other side of the bracket, we'll just pop those screws in place and then we will be done as far as that's concerned. So one screw here, and these screws actually go down into the heatsink on top. So here, here, and I dropped a screw earlier. And I don't think I found it. I don't think I found it. I think I put off the search for later. So let's go check the floor. Yep. It's on the floor. Okay, so now with the frame in place, the iFlash literally just pops in place. But before we do that, let's go ahead and insert the flex cable. And lock it down. Okay, so now the last thing to do is to solder this side of the flex cable for the extender in place. So the way it lines up is this pin right here, the last pin on the connector, that's the first pin, that's the top pin of the cable, and then you solder all these pins until you get down here. This last pin here is not soldered because that's actually part of the switch mechanism, so it's not needed once we remove the slot. So we'll go ahead and just tack this in place. And then we'll come back in and solder it down. All right, so that ought to do it. Okay, so that's fully installed now. And everything is locked into place. So what we're gonna do real quick, now that we've got everything connected, is we're gonna go ahead and do a quick test, and then we will assemble this into the shell. So for our test, hold on, let's see, we'll go ahead and plug the battery and the fan back in. So for our test, let's switch back over to the RetroTink 5X here. I'm going to pop in, I've got a USB drive with OPL on it, and then I've got a free MC boot memory card here. And then right here, I've got a PNY 1 terabyte micro SD card with a bunch of games on it. And here we go. All right, so we got OPL. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and fire up a game that has a cutscene right at the start. It's a good example. Let's see. Final Fantasy 12. This one has a cutscene that is known for stuttering. And it's right at the very beginning of the game. So it serves as a good test game. Look at it go. So yeah, this that's a quick demonstration of it working with the new flex cable and the new SD card extension flex. Now the advantage of this whole setup, of course, is that you can use large SD cards up to currently 1 terabyte. Now we are going to talk about compatibility here in a minute, because there are some things to be discussed about compatibility with SD cards. But like this PNY SD card that's a 1 terabyte perfectly works wonderfully. A terabyte is a lot of space. I haven't ever tried the EXFAT version of OPL, but I suspect that might actually be a good option for this, because I think you can use compressed ISOs on the EXFAT version of OPL, so you can fit even more. Like with a 1 terabyte card, I can't quite hold my entire library of PS2 games, but if they were compressed, I would be able to. So that's going to be potentially a good thing. But that pretty much demonstrates that. So let's go ahead and hop back to the normal camera. We'll shut this down and we'll reassemble, and I'll show you how to put the shell back together and how everything goes together. So as you can see with the frame, the iFlash sits pretty flush inside of there. So whenever it comes to putting the shell back on, it should be like a perfectly flush installation without any kind of, pressure points or bulging or anything like that on the shell. Go ahead and get our drive flex cables put back together. All right, so this the iFlash board popped loose whenever I flipped it over. Whenever you get the production version of this bracket, it will not be loose like this. This version is looser than it's supposed to be because I ended up having to file on it a little bit because the dimensions weren't exactly right. I've got the dimensions dialed in now, so when I ship these, they should be the perfect dimension where the iFlash board will snap in place, and then it's there. That's gonna stay there. So We're just working with the prototype version of this board here. But anyway, so let's go ahead and remove our SD card and our USB drive. And then we're just going to take our top shell and place it on. And everything lines up like this. So you can see the SD card slot down there. It lines up right with the vent hole. And then we'll take our top shell. Oh, come on. There we go. Now I'm leaving the modem out for now because I'm going to end up doing a Pixel FX gem in this as the next mod for this one, so I just don't even have the modem installed right now. But now that we've got the board in here, we're going to go ahead and just pop our screws in, close it back up. Okay, so now that it's all put together, the SD card will just slide. You got to do it top side down. The SD card just slides into the vent hole and clicks into place. So it's pretty much seamless. And then whenever you need to remove it, you can just click it again and it comes right out. So I think it's pretty smooth. You just got to get in the right hole. Don't put it in the wrong one, or else you'll lose your SD card inside of your PS2. All right, now that we've got it together, we can go back and fire it up again. And we'll have a little conversation about SD card compatibility and a few other things. All right, so this mod was designed around the V12, right? So the V12 specific motherboard has the combined emotion engine and graphics synthesizer, and that SD card alignment is perfect for the V12. If you try to install this on a V13 that has the laser fix, the slot's not going to fit there. So I don't know what you're going to do about that, to be honest with you, until I get the revised version of the power board out for people that have V13s with the laser fix. But for a V12, if you can find a 70,012 model, that's like a guaranteed V12, I'm pretty sure. So that's what you're looking for. Now, as far as compatibility is concerned, SD cards. So far I have tested this SanDisk 1.5 terabyte drive. Now I believe this drive to be the only 1.5 terabyte SD card that is available on the market. As far as I know, it's the only one. I have looked for others. I know there's a Kioxia 2 terabyte card that's supposed to be out there somewhere in the ether. I've never seen it. It's supposed to have come out in 2023, but you can't buy it, so I don't know what that's about. So we have no information on that at this time. But I have also tested, so the 1.5 terabyte card. So here's the deal with this card. This card uses Micron multi-layer NAND. It's a particular Micron multi-layer NAND cell, and it is unreliable with the iFlash. It doesn't not work, it just doesn't work consistently. you'll boot it up and sometimes it will be detected just fine and it'll read games and it'll run at full speed and everything's good. Then other times you'll boot it up and the iFlash won't be able to detect the card and it'll just show that there's no hard drive connected. And there's really no rhyme or reason to it. I have tried a ton of troubleshooting to try to like adjust the power supply and everything to get it dialed in so that it initializes properly, but it's just inconsistent enough that I wouldn't recommend using it. It may work for you, I don't know. It might be dependent on your PS2, your power supply. I don't know what causes the issue, but this 1.5 terabyte drive for me has been super unreliable. Now, this SanDisk 1 terabyte drive, same thing. Now, if you look at the bottom here, there is a shocking similarity between the 1.5 terabyte and the 1 terabyte. And I think that's because they both use the same style of Micron multi-layer NAND. And I think that particular NAND chip in any capacity is incompatible with the iFlash. I don't know why, I don't know what the issue is, but it just doesn't work reliably. Samsung, I don't have a 1 terabyte Samsung, but this 512 EVO, this works perfectly every time. PNY, this 512 gig PNY SD card has been the one that I have been testing with this whole time. This was the first card I ever tried to test in the iFlash whenever I hand wired up the first one. This has been a perfectly reliable card. And then the card I'm using right now is this 1 terabyte PNY card. Again, it's a PNY Pro Elite. This 1 terabyte card, perfectly reliable. I have had 0 issues. It's initialized every time without fail. So I would say so far in my testing, Samsung cards, PNY cards are a sure bet. SanDisk, I can't say for sure. Maybe other SanDisk cards work, but these ones that use this Micron multi-layered NAND cell, they do not work reliably in any capacity, from what I can tell. So there may be different models of SanDisk card that would work just fine, but I can't say for sure at this time. But PNY is a sure bet. Samsung seems to be a sure bet. Okay, let's jump back over to game capture. And let's hop back into OPL and try to go play something else. What's another good game that has... I've got more games now than I had last time. So what's another good game with an FMV that people want to see? I think last time I was asked to do... I think I was asked to do Soul Reaver 2. Let's see what that's all about. I didn't have it last time, so this is a new experience for me. I've never played Soul Reaver or Soul Reaver 2. The bouncer. Oh, I do have the bouncer. So we could definitely take a look at the bouncer. I know it has an FMV at the very beginning. All right, let's see here. Do we have a... Okay, we got an FMV right here at the beginning.
At last. I must say I'm disappointed in your progress. I imagined you'd be here sooner. Tell me, did it trouble you to murder your brothers?
Did it trouble you when you ordered me into the abyss?
Eternity is relentless, Raziel. When I first stole into this chamber.
Oh, wait, which one is an FMV? The bouncer? The whole game is an FMV? Oops, I accidentally skipped the FMV. My bad.
Where am I?
I think that was the whole point
Question. In your case,
here, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, let's go. Let's go look at the bouncer. Where is the bouncer gonna be at? There we go. All I know about the bouncer is that it's got Kingdom Hearts aesthetic all over it. It's basically Discount Sora and friends. Look, it's one thing to be a Square game, but it's another thing entirely to basically just have a bunch of discount Kingdom Hearts characters specifically. Kingdom Hearts had a specific aesthetic that this game totally, completely has the same aesthetic of. This came out before Kingdom Hearts, right? I assume that Tetsuya Nomura was probably the character designer for this game. All right, let's play some bouncer. Sure, yeah, okay, yes. Kingdom Hearts, obviously, Kingdom Hearts would have copied the bouncer if it came out first. But it really was probably all Tetsuya Nomura anyway.
Our top story. Mikado, the company heading the International Space Project, announced the launch of an additional solar power generator satellite. The announcement comes as a surprise to many. So what exactly...
Can y'all hear the game? Is the game hearable? Do you have audio?
First, an Earth-based station transmits a guidance signal. Upon receiving the signal, the satellite uses a large mirror to generate...
Well, Mr. Pete, you know, that's because Dragon Quest was all the characters were designed by Akira Toriyama, so of course, it's the same deal. Look, I'm just assuming that Tetsuya Nomura did the character designs in this game, but I would have to, I mean, it's gotta be. It's gotta be Nomura. It's his, this is his bag for sure. Alright, so I think that's enough bouncer for me. You can see the FMVs are playing smoothly. So I want to show you all something else here. So on the note of compatibility with SD cards, I want to show you what happens with incompatible SD cards. So we're going to go ahead and fire this PS2 up. I've actually got my memory card set to auto boot into this HDD test utility. So we can see, you can run speed tests and stuff like that. But you see that here it detected the hard drive as iFlash platform iPod adapter. And then you can see the drive capacity is 1,000 gigabytes, and it tells you the sector size and all that sort of stuff. LBA command set, LBA 48, that's important because that's what allows it to address drives that are larger than 128 gigs. Well, so that's with this PNY drive. Now, if we want to test the 1.5 terabyte drive, there are two strange things about it. First of all, and I think this is related to the Oops. I think this is related to the the hard drive modules, driver modules in the PS2. But for some reason, if it will detect it, you're going to see that this 1.5 terabyte drive is going to report as a 1 terabyte drive. And it didn't detect it. So there's a perfect example of it not being able to detect the 1 terabyte or the 1.5 terabyte SanDisk. So that's the SanDisk right there. Let's take the SanDisk 1 terabyte. See if it'll pick it up. And it's not detecting it at all today. Okay, we're going to let it sit for 30 seconds. Okay, that should be 30 seconds. Let's try it again. Sometimes letting it sit powered off for about 30 seconds is just like that will allow it to be detected, but it's not. No, it didn't detect it. So it just doesn't want to detect it at all right now. I have no idea why it is not a consistent thing. Let's go ahead and pop in the Samsung Evo card. Okay, so you can see the Samsung Evo card is detected just fine. 512 gig. Hard drive's detected just like you would expect. We'll pop in the PNY 512 gig card. And as you can see, it detects the PNY 512 gig card as well. All right, shut it off. Now, I have this Silicon Power 1 terabyte card that is in rough shape. This thing has been through the ringer. This one seems to be a little inconsistent too, so we're gonna try it. See how it works with the extension cable, with the new extension flex cable. It may not work. These Silicon Power micro SD cards are really cheap, and I'm not sure what the provenance of their flash is. Yeah, it didn't detect it. So I'm going to say Silicon Power, at least so far, the only card I have from them as an example, doesn't really work reliably either. But Samsung and PNY, perfectly reliable. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to try the 1.5 terabyte SanDisk one more time here, just to see if it'll detect. Yeah, it's not playing. It's not playing ball today. So yeah, I'm confident in saying that SanDisk cards with the micron memory, so the 1 terabyte and the 1.5 terabyte, they're not going to be compatible. Now that may not apply to the A2 variant of the 1 terabyte card, because I don't know if it uses that same multi-layer micron memory. This is the A1 speed card, and it seems to use the same type of NAND that the 1.5 terabyte does. But yeah, as you can see, that we're back to the PNY it's detected as it's supposed to be and works reliably. So what my hope is at this point is that right now the SanDisk is the only the only micro SD card you can find on the market that's over 1 TB. I'm hoping that we're going to get to a point in the next year or so where greater than 1 TB cards become available from other manufacturers that are not necessarily using this micron memory that the SanDisk card is using. If other cards come out with memory from different manufacturers, like if Samsung comes out with a larger card or something like that, then I suspect it's going to work reliably with this. So Lexar. You know, I haven't tried any Lexar cards because I don't have any. A few years ago I swore off Lexar because I had multiple Lexar cards fail on me like in a short period of time. So I don't buy Lexar cards anymore. I might have a small, like a low capacity Lexar card around here somewhere. Give me a second. I'm going to run over and take a look at my SD card drawer. I might have a Lexar card sitting in the drawer, but it's probably going to be like a 64 gig, which I don't know if that's going to tell us anything useful. But I'll go grab it. I'll see if I can find one. Give me a second. I'll be back. Okay, let's see. Well, I don't seem to have any SD cards in my SD card bin. What the heck? I just got a bunch of adapters. Okay. Let me check one other place. Okay, I did. I found a Lexar card. It's a 64 gig Lexar card. Very old. I don't even know if it works, to be honest with you, but we'll pop it in here and see what happens. He fixes a lot of Lexar cards? What do you mean fixes Lexar cards? Fix a micro SD card? What does that even entail? Okay, this is this is detected. 64 gig card. Let's try rebooting real quick. Sometimes like with the 1.5 terabyte card, sometimes it'll be detected and then you reboot and it's not detected anymore. So we'll see what happens here. Yeah, it detected it. Now, I'm not sure if this is useful information because this is a very old card. It's an SD, what is this? SDHC? No, it's an SDXC card. Let's see. Class 10, UHS1? I think it's a UHS1. So I guess it's not that old. But it's not very... I mean, it's not a high-capacity card, so... who knows how old the NAND technology inside of here is. This may not be like relevant to current large capacity Lexar cards. But it does seem to consistently detect it, so that's nice. I want to try this 1.5 terabyte card one more time. See if I can get it to detect even once. Nah, it's not detecting at all. Yeah, so I think it's fair to say the SanDisk 1.5 terabyte card is not compatible. Which is, I mean, it's a bummer because it's the only 1.5 terabyte card on the market right now. But that's going to change. Over time, that's definitely going to change. It's not like we're maxed out on the capacity of cards. All right, let's jump into Launch Elf. And I'll show you how, if you needed to format a drive, this is going to show. So first of all, if you go to HDD 0, it'll load the HDD modules and show your hard drive just like it would on a fat PS2 with a hard drive. And if we run down to miscellaneous here and go to HDD manager, it's going to pull up our hard drive. And there you go. So you can see I got this thing loaded up with games. Yeah, so if you needed to format your drive, you could do it from here. You know, if you wanted to format it, you could format it right here. I'm not going to do that. But anyways, I think that pretty much does it for us here today. So as of right now, I feel like this is a successful test here. I think the revisions that have been made seem to have paid off. The previous design for the power board didn't have the SD card lined up exactly right, so it was kind of tough to get the card in and out, but the alignment is just downright perfection here. It's super easy to get the card in and out, so that was one of my main concerns I wanted to address. And it has been addressed. And as you can see here, there's no bulge or anything down here where that iFlash is at. It sits flush enough that it completely, you know, clears the shell. So, anyways, whenever you purchase, once I have these available for sale, like I said, I've got to send them out to a few different people to test in other motherboard revisions. But once these are available for sale, they're going to come with the 3D printed bracket. So you'll get the 3D printed brackets. You'll get the flex cable for the main iFlash flex cable, and you'll get the SD card extender flash cable, and you'll get a power supply board. And then all you have to do is supply your own iFlash Solo, which you can get these on Amazon, or you can get them directly from the iFlash website. It's iFlash.xyz. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. This I think this is the best SD card mod you can do on the PS2 Slim. All the other options have some pretty significant limitations. As far as pricing is concerned, I haven't nailed it down yet, but I'm hoping to keep it low in the, you know, $20-$30 range for the kit. So we'll see. But I'll announce that once I get closer to having everybody test it out and get it closer to actually getting it ready to sell. So does anybody have any questions before I sign off here? see if I can find... Oh, here's the feet. I had the feet. I just had them somewhere. Gem when? That's a great question. Well, I don't have a gem yet for this PS2, but it is on the roadmap, so I'm hoping that I can get on that. I guess I'll just go buy one. I guess there's no reason not to go ahead and jump on it. The thing is, this shell, this PS2 shell is in rough shape. I've been trying to find a place that sells a replacement shell for the Slim, and it's like, seems like it's impossible. I don't think anybody makes them. But, because this shell is in rough shape. It's got cigarette burns. I got this on eBay for super cheap, like 5 years ago, and it's just sat in a closet until I decided I wanted to do PS2 Slim modding. But yeah, this case is in horrible condition, and I can't find anybody that sells a replacement shell for the 70,000 series that's any kind of decent. I have a aftermarket shell here that I got on AliExpress, and it is straight ass. It sucks. It's super flimsy and cheap, and nothing lines up right. The top shell, where is that top shell? Well, I've lost track of the top shell somehow. Oh, there. Box is here. So this top shell, the eject mechanism locks up and doesn't... Oh, I have actually removed it here because I was trying to grease it and sand on it a little bit, and I ended up breaking off one of the posts of the eject mechanism while trying to clean it up and get it running smoothly. But it would just get stuck every time you push the eject button. It would just get stuck and it wouldn't close again. So yeah, this is cheap garbage, and I'm really hoping to find a decent quality PS2 Slim shell, but I don't know if anybody makes them anymore. I asked on Twitter, nobody seems to know. Everybody seems to be saying they're not made anymore, which is a shame. But anyways, that pretty much does it, guys. I'm gonna call it for the night. But this is that's what I got. I think this is the release candidate. I'm gonna send it out to a few people. Modsville is gonna get one of these, try it out, see if he runs into any issues that I didn't run into here. And once we know for sure that it's in pretty much good to go, you know, working order, I will have these up on the website. But I will catch you guys later.